Okay guys, this is Red Pill Phil. We've made it to Telford Station Central. This is where it's all happening. The Telford scandal. There's certain members of the public that want more answers and feel that the conversation should be had and it shouldn't be brushed under the carpet. So the DFLA have congregated here. We're going to have a march going over to see I think council buildings and this, that and the other. So there's a hell of a lot going on today. Hopefully we'll get more numbers, but people are congregating. So I've managed to grab this lovely lady. I've just had a quick little chat with her. She's very passionate and she makes a lot of sense, a lot of common sense. So I'd like to say hello mate, you're right. I would say hello, thank you very much for having this interview with me. Can I ask what your name is?
Carol.
Carol. Okay, Carol. So, Carol, what does this mean to you today and what it's all about?
What it's about today is the fact that our government have knowingly let our children down. They've let the British people down. They have knowingly signed us up to the Barcelona Declaration, which is something that nobody's allowed to talk about. But it empowered the African and the Muslim world to come into this country freely. All this movement of people, mass movement of people supposedly being humanitarian is nothing of the sort. It's organised, it's orchestrated. They even had NGOs ferrying them across from the Libyan coast to Italy.
Funded by George Soros, I do believe.
Funded by probably George.
If you say that, you're an anti-Semite. This is how crazy it is.
Political correctness is an absolute nonsense. You know, if we can't discuss the major issues that are upsetting this country at this moment in time, then I don't know where we go, but keep trying to shut down free speech. Yeah. Which is what the government are doing. I mean, they've recently, in the past 3 weeks, they've banned 4 people from coming into the country that want to give speeches. And one of them, ironically, was a speech about free speech. You know, I mean, how nonsensical is that? I mean, it's transparent now. People that are aware can see what is happening. Twitter accounts are being closed down. What are they doing about the other side of the coin? You know, I'm supposedly a far-right extremist because I object to what is happening in my country. I object to the fact that I'm not even allowed to say the Islam word without being censored and condemned and called names. I'm not. It's
a climate they've developed over so many years.
It's been very subtle. It's been building and building and building. I'm obviously an older lady. I won't give you my age, but I'm an older lady.
You look very well on it.
And I've seen the changes. I've seen how we've been suppressed, how things have got to the stage where we can't talk about what we want to talk about. You know, we're just not allowed to say it anymore. I write to Theresa May, I write to government and officials. I don't even get an acknowledgement letter.
You would think you've actually just recited a poem to me. Now, I would love you to read that poem because apparently you've sent that to Theresa May as well.
I've sent this to Theresa May.
Okay.
I sent a lot of stuff to Theresa May.
So
I wrote this after last week's demonstration in Birmingham.
Right.
And it's called Why We March. We march to show our anger. We march to show our fear. We march to show our government the things that we hold dear. Our precious children's future. Our precious children's lives. Our precious children's innocence that's been stolen by their lies. We march to show our masters that we see right through their scheme. We march to show our government that will shatter their evil dream. We march to show our backbone. We march to show our strength. We march to show our government that on ourselves we will depend. We march because we're British. We march because we're proud. We march to show our colours and we'll always shout out loud. Our government won't beat us. We will never bow the knee to the evil plans of Islam. We Britons will be free.
Excellent. So do you reckon you're going to get a response
from
Theresa the Appeaser?
I don't get any responses whatsoever. No. I don't even get acknowledgements to my emails. And I think I don't just do it in poem form. I've sent her a few poems and they come from my heart. But I think they touch a chord with a lot of people.
Of course.
Because they express the desolation, I think, that most of us feel. And I do think we are desolate because we haven't got a voice and we're losing that voice.
We're in an environment of a book burning age, aren't we?
Yeah.
Whereas if you've got certain views, you're castigated and put to one side. Now, the psychology of doing any of that to an individual is going to have an elastic effect, because they're going to have kickback if you're not going to let people redress.
They can't keep pushing us down, because we will fight back. You know, we've lost a lot of our backbone, and certainly our politicians have lost their backbone. But we will fight back. You know, you can't push a cat into a corner and not expect it to come out fighting, and we will. And I'm not advocating violence.
No, not at all.
None of us advocate violence. But the way they're pushing us,
do you think
it will happen?
Do you think they know this and they're waiting for that final kick-off to then be able to fully bring the police state in?
It's crossed my mind that this is what they're working to. If they push us to the point that we start to fight, then we'll be under martial law.
With the amount of identity politics and how everything's so polarised, that's the only conclusion I can get.
It's the polarisation that I don't understand. Nobody can debate and talk anymore. And part of that is the closing down of free speech. It happens on the university campuses. You know, they have their little safe spaces where, nobody must upset them.
With crayons and teddy bears. These are people that are going to be ruling the country in 10 or 15 years' time.
It beggars belief. You know, the fact that in university, where our children's minds should be as open as they're ever going to be to debate, argument, discussion, they're being closed down. They're barring people from going to give speeches. I mean, where does that end?
If you're going to close opinion, then all the ingenuity that we've come to take for granted over the years, all the major speakers, engineers, it all stems from opinion. This
is where good ideas come from. Good ideas come from debating.
Exactly.
I've got a good idea, mine's better. Let's talk about it, let's refine it, let's make it one really good idea in the middle.
Brilliant.
It doesn't happen anymore.
No, because you're being closed.
Because the left are closing down anybody that doesn't follow their agenda.
So what kind of society do you end up with when that's
we're already seeing it, aren't we? I mean, the behaviour of the left, Antifa and all these others, I mean, why that isn't a proscribed group, I don't know.
They are in America, aren't they?
Yeah, they need to be here because they're intimidating. I've met them face to face. They are fascists, the anti-fascists are now the fascists. You know, everything on the political spectrum is arse about face, excuse my language. You know, nothing is what it purports to be anymore. All I am is a grandmother, and I can't sit back and let this happen.
What do your family think of what you're doing, in your opinions?
I don't talk about it at home because they don't want to get involved. And this is what we face. So many people are apathetic. If I start to talk about it, it's usually a raise of the eyebrows and Carol's off again. But
have you ever had the N-word laid on you? And I mean that's it, not the other one. I can't see how they call you the other one. That would be.
To think what the N-word.
I mean, we're in such a strange world. It won't surprise me if they call you.
I've been called racist, Nazi. I've been, far right extremist.
How does that feel when you feel that
I actually want to laugh.
I know, it's crazy
because it's just so far removed from the truth that it just doesn't make sense, And they think that just by saying that word, they've won. They've won the argument. I called you a racist, so I'm right and you're wrong.
It puts you in a defensive stance.
Absolutely defensive straight away. But I don't. I just laugh at it now because it's pathetic.
But that's the very thing that's making your family members and my family members.
Frightened to speak.
Totally relate. They just want to get along with life.
They're frightened to speak out. Most people are frightened to speak out. It's only those of us that have done a bit of research, looked into things like the Barcelona Declaration, like ISESCO. There's an awful lot, and I can never remember it, so I've written it down. The strategy for the Islamic cultural strategy outside the Islamic world. Read it, it's enlightening. It shows how Islam does not intend to integrate in this country, and it shows that our government have given them permission not to integrate. So then they go and pay Casey thousands of pounds to do a research into why they're not integrating, They know why they're not integrating. They've given them
just a waste of
permission.
money.
They've given them permission not to integrate.
Yeah. So that's not multiculturalism then, is it?
No, it's not.
So when people do say the Great Replacement, which is a big, powerful term,
yeah, it is.
It does make some sense in a sense that you're not promoting all being one. You're promoting different groups.
It's not. It's lies. You know, we're told that we're a multicultural. We've always been multicultural. No, we haven't. That's an outright lie. We've welcomed refugees in the past, going back to the 16th century when the French Huguenots came over. A lot of Jewish people that were welcomed back, although Jews aren't a race, it's a religion. They were persecuted, we accepted them in. The Muslims aren't being persecuted. They've come here to commit hijrah, which is colonisation, basically.
Conquering.
They've come to conquer, and they will outbreed us.
But there's same again. It's not a question of tarring every Muslim with that brush.
No,
it's a question of saying, well, overall, people who interpret that book in its fullest extent, that's the mentality that we're talking about. There are plenty of Muslims in this country that want to go along to get along, but do feel a fear about coming out against their own.
They can't come out
religion.
Against their own religion because, you know, they'll be persecuted by their own kind.
Yeah.
You know, the evil practices in the Quran are there for anybody to look at and read and see.
Yeah.
You don't have to be an expert to know what's happening. You only have to talk to a few people, a few Muslim people, you know. And no, I don't tar everybody with the same brush. It's not all Muslims. But one statistic that sticks in my mind is that 7% of Germans were Nazis. Just 7%.
Right.
That's a small percentage of the German population.
Sure. Yeah.
The rest, in the words of somebody else, were irrelevant. And that's the same for Islam. It's a percentage, a small percentage that want to colonise this country. It's not as small as you think. It's been, you know, Saudi Arabia, and that's another story going on with the, you know, the little cozying up she had with the Crown Prince the other week. You know, I'd love to know what she's agreed for us now.
Well, selling us out some way, one way or the other.
There will be something along those lines. I know I sound very negative about things, but I'm afraid there's not a lot to be positive about.
No, I mean, the one positive thing is that people like you, like John, we're all here. You're not alone in the way you think.
And I think this is why I come to the marches, because I sometimes think, am I getting caught up in this little bubble of, you know, this world that perhaps isn't as bad as I think it is? And then I come to speak to other people, and I think, no, I do have.
But that's a system of telling you. That's almost like the system having that little seed of doubt in your head, as if to say, "Are you taking this too far?"
Yeah.
And then when you step back and you go, "Hold on, I'm not taking it too far. Because look what is happening." From what I've been, from the years of me growing up, and all the different, areas that I've been through
when my
growing
children were growing up, or when they were in their young teens, if they went out, or teens, when they went out for a night out, I'd say to them, if you get stuck, get a taxi, Mum will pay when you get home.
Right.
I wouldn't say that to my kids now.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it to my grandchildren. It would be, I'll turn out, even if I have to get out of bed, I will turn out, because I wouldn't trust them in a taxi.
Concerns. Yeah.
You know, now whether I'm right or wrong in that, I don't know, but you know, the grooming gangs that are operating now, and this use of the word Asian, I think, is insulting to a lot of Asian people. Call it what it is, and then address the issue and deal with it.
Well, that in itself is racist.
Yeah. It is, because they're condemning all other races for crimes that are being committed by one section. I can't remember the statistics now, but it's something like 4% of the population carrying out 84% of these crimes.
So if that's
Why can't we talk about it?
I know.
Why can't we name it?
You're racist to bring that
I'm
up.
racist.
Because
I'm Islamophobic.
If that was any other demographic that was doing that, I would be just as vocal.
Absolutely. I don't care whether they're black, white, pink or scarlet. If they're doing that to our children, they're evil.
And then you've got to look beyond that, why they're doing that, and then it doesn't go so far. And then
why
that
they're
book
doing
comes
it, it's
into
because
again.
it's in the Quran. It's war booty. They're allowed to do it.
So it's sophisticated, but they're treating it, or the system and the establishment are treating it on a basic level where you can go more sophisticated about it and actually scratch the surface. But then they're castigating you for wanting to scratch the surface because you should be doing what the rest of your family are doing. And just
enjoying my retirement.
And just get on with it and just watch the destruction of your country.
I won't be here to see it.
Well, this is it.
I won't be here to see it, but I can't not fight because I can't face my grandchildren and know that I did nothing.
Exactly. So what would you think about the Home Office coming out and saying basically we're not going to do an inquest into what's gone on here at Telford? We're going to leave it to the local council pretty much, if I understand it right?
The thing that gets me with inquiries is that over the years you hear something on the news and all they say is we're going to have an inquiry. And then the conclusion of that inquiry that's cost millions of pounds is we mustn't let this happen again. Every inquiry, inquiry, we are spending millions in this instead of paying the money at the grassroots, putting more police on the ground to deal with it, more of everything else. No, we'll pay these highbrow people to carry out an inquiry, and we know what the conclusion is before they do it. It must not happen again. And it happens again.
We need to name and shame.
Absolutely.
Drag out everyone.
Yeah, but the councillors here have been reinstated, haven't they?
Really?
I think I saw. I've not checked it out, so don't quote me. I've not checked it out, but some of them I think have been reinstated.
No. Because
it's the care
like
system, it's the police, it's the judicial system, it's the whole gamut of our establishment. Because it's sick and it's evil.
It has to involve a cabal of people.
Yeah. Yes.
There's various reasons why they've allowed it to happen. I'm not saying they're all in on it and they're actually taking part.
Are they really too scared to be branded as racist? Is that really the reason? Is that truly the reason?
Well, this is it. That's the question.
Because if it is, it's bloody pathetic.
I think there's appeasement. I think people, like you say, Saudi Arabia, the fact that we're taking money off certain states brings that appeasement that we can't talk about it. Moss being popped up
that document that I just said is there. It spells it out.
It's all relevant to this
spells
argument.
It out.
But they don't want people to be that informed.
No,
that's what I get.
No, they don't.
Because if they had programmes out talking about this, laying it all out, as if to say, well, there's a fair side to all this, I'd be up for it.
Yeah.
But the fact they don't discover this, and it takes you and I, when we should be living our lives, but you're taking the time out to research and look into things.
I do. I don't just take a Facebook quote and accept it as gospel. I will go away and I will look up and I will try to find objective sources. There are too many intelligent people telling us what's happening. They're not all, I know they want to brand football lads as hooligans and, racist and all the rest of it. There's too many intelligent people out there telling us what's happening. They can't all be wrong.
So what do you expect from today then? Last question. Do you expect a positive event?
I think it will give us all a bit of courage to speak out further. Will it achieve anything? I don't know. I think the agenda's too heavily set.
Informative, if there's any positivity out of it, the fact that doing this is informing other people that there's certain people that are not letting it lie.
We need to wake people up for sure. These protests need to be by the tens of thousands, not just a handful of people. People have got to get off their sofas, they've got to get off their keyboards, and they've got to put their feet on the pavement.
Does it take your own kids to be involved in this before you're prepared to speak out? Thank you very much for this interview. You've done brilliantly, absolutely brilliantly.
You're not going to turn it off?
I'm turning it off now. Okay, I'll turn the camera.
You're not going to show it all, are you?
You not want me? Well, let me just finish it.
Because it's loads.
No, I thought that was a brilliant interview. Oh, look at you, bless you, you're getting all shy. You've actually done a brilliant interview there. We've had a top conversation. That reciting of the poem was absolutely fantastic. It come across so well, and I'll be very surprised if we get nothing but positive comments from that, because it's showing the demographic of what the different people here. We're not all just barely
But I'm just a grandma, No, I've never been involved in politics in my life.
Yep.
I'm retired. I should be enjoying my life. I should be enjoying my grandchildren.
Yep.
And I can't because this consumes me now.
Yep.
I've got to get people aware of what's
But that's your
going
moral
on.
compass kicking in, though, isn't it? So there's nothing wrong with that. And the establishment's selling it's wrong. But as far as everyone here is concerned, you can see, oh, there's more numbers all of a
More now.
sudden.
Yeah, that's
Brilliant.
good.
So thank you very much for that
You're
interview
welcome.
anyway. Okay, guys, this is Red Pill Phil.
How you feel, mate?
Brilliant, mate. Just finished
Glad
this
to meet you again, mate.
Nice one. Yeah, Red Pill Phil. Hope you like and subscribe. Jesus, kicking off there. There you are. So the numbers are growing. There's more. It's getting lively. So no doubt there'll be more interviews as the day progresses. So fingers crossed, guys. This all comes across as one positive event. We're speaking about something that's very serious. So like and subscribe, more to follow. Red Pill Phil with you all, even as an ages. See you.